Hi all Bingham Escape fans that have been following us for the past 6 months on our journey, our little travels and craziness. We decided to do a kind of closure video and a little bit of talk about just everything that we've gone through and how it's all kind of ended in this crazy new world we're all living in. I have a little cheat sheet here that I'm going to look at. Joe might talk a little if I let him. We'll see. Oh, he doesn't want the paper in the way. Apparently he needs to see our faces. So we'll just start from the top. We left in October of 2019. We had a crazy adventure with the start. You probably forgot, but we left in a big snowstorm. It was the biggest snowstorm that we'd had. Everything had shut down in the city. It was a huge blizzard. The universities closed down, everything. We don't normally even close down here for any blizzards, but it was just a complete freak snowstorm that we left in. So we started out maybe with a bad omen, I don't know. The way things ended up kind of feels that way. Our first cruise was from Los Angeles to Singapore. So we flew from Great Falls to Los Angeles, spent a day there, got on the boat and sailed for 25 days. It was perfect. The weather was great. Met some great people. We still keep in contact with a lot of them. Had a really fun time. And we arrived in Singapore for October 30th. And we were there till November 4th. Everything was good in Singapore. It was a beautiful city. Everything was new, modern, clean. It was great. And then we went to fly to Hanoi, where we planned on spending 3 months. We had multi-entry visas for 3 months, so you could go in and out of the country. We applied for those ahead of time, but Joe's going to talk now. He's going to tell you what happened there.
As you know, my visa was incorrect. The passport was put in wrong. And so we end up having to try and get an emergency visa, which cost more money, but it was better of the two evils. And so we got an emergency visa and we are flying to Hanoi. Then we got into Hanoi late at night and the bus, we got on the bus and it took us close. Well, it was supposed to be close to our hotel, and 2 hours of backpacking in the heat and the dark, and all the streets looked the same, and nothing made sense. So we ended up finally getting to our hotel after we met this couple that obviously knew we were lost. So they helped us out with their GPS, and we finally got to our hotel. And then from there, it was good. Vietnam was good. The plan was to start in Hanoi, and then we went to Kappa Island for a week and then back. And then we're going to tour the middle of it. But unfortunately, during that time, I had hotels already booked. A cyclone came through, and that was no longer. So we went from the top all the way down to the bottom to Bangkok.
Not Bangkok.
No.
No. Joe's mixed up. Bangkok is in Thailand.
Oh, yeah.
We went all the way from Hanoi all the way down to Ho Chi Minh City.
Ho Chi Minh.
See, we've traveled too much. We can't even remember what places we've been to. And we're not going to redo this video because, you know what, we'll probably just make mistakes
Oh,
the
the
way
mess ups
through.
are good.
Yeah, the mess ups are more fun for you. Makes it a little more entertaining than just our blah videos. So then everything was good. We finished touring Vietnam. You've all seen our page, our pictures. Then we went to Cambodia. Cambodia was super hot. We only planned on spending a few days there. It was very exhausting. We got a great tour guide who took us all over, and he took a gazillion pictures of us. We were exhausted by the time we were done doing our tour there. We haven't even actually looked at the pictures. They were on a stick and we weren't able to access them. So hopefully over the next few days we'll look at them and we'll post some of them up there. I'm sure you don't want to look at millions of pictures of us, but seriously, there were probably thousands of pictures he took. He was an amazing tour guide, and so hopefully some of the pictures turned out, but it was very tiring and hot and exhausting. So then from there, we went to Thailand. We arrived, of course, 2 months earlier than expected because of the Vietnam issues. So now it's December. We weren't expecting to be there at Christmas time. When everything's booked up, everybody wants to be in Thailand for Christmas. Prices have skyrocketed. And so we weren't really sure what we were going to do. We're winging it a lot with our vacation. We didn't really plan everything. We knew which countries we were going to, but we didn't pick where we were going. We didn't book hotels too far ahead or anything like that. So with arriving 2 weeks early, the weather was bad too. It was monsoon season. The land goes down the middle, and there are islands on the inside coast and the outside coast. We planned to do island hopping all the way down to Malaysia. The islands are supposed to be beautiful, great snorkeling, everything like that. But the weather was bad. Everything was booked up. Anything that was left was so expensive, it was out of our budget that we had, because we had a strict budget to be able to travel for that long. And so we got on Facebook, we talked to some other groups, and they suggested we go to the inside to this island called Koh Samui. So we booked there, a really nice island, but the weather was still bad. And it was really hard to find food there. You had to walk at least 25 to 30 minutes one way to find food. We used to call it the food hunt. And that our hardest thing the whole time was finding food. We had strict rules for ourselves for finding food. It had to be something we could see them cook the food, and it had to be something that was fully cooked. No raw foods, and no eating in restaurants where we couldn't see the food, unless we were in a country that had higher standards. But the standards, yeah, Joe can explain the standards of the food and what it was like.
Now you just you get used to it after a period of time, but at first you're like, because we'd go look for food, and they weren't the most sanitary type, and then when they're washing the dishes, they're just a big bucket of water that's been probably there for 4 hours, and they're still washing dishes in there. So that took a bit of getting used to. And the rats and that, they just became a everyday occurrence. Oh, look, there's some more rats.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely a different, but you get after a bit, it's like you expect it, and then it's like, okay, well, we just gotta go eat somewhere, and then so yeah. But at first, it was tough to get over that part of it, but.
So in Thailand, not many of you know this, but in Thailand, we decided then that Christmas was really hard to be away from family. And so we made some plans to actually make our way back much sooner than all of you expected. Just around Christmas, we decided to give ourselves a Christmas present, and we booked the cruise that we just got off of. And so it was booked way back before Christmas, before all of this outbreak of the virus. None of that we really knew was going on then. So we booked the cruise, and we planned on going from Tahiti after the cruise all the way to Guadalajara, Mexico. We thought, hey, let's go over there. It might be kind of nice to tour around a little bit of Mexico, head up to the States, and then head home. But 3 days after we booked the flight to Guadalajara, Mexico, the government sent us a letter saying that Mexico was unsafe, not because of the virus, but because of the drug lords turning to avocado farms, and everything was in such unrest, and they advised us not to go there. If you go to a country when your government advises you not to, they won't help you get out of the country if you went there when they said not to. That's what we were told. I don't know if it's true, but we decided, okay, we have an 11-hour layover in Los Angeles. So instead, we thought, let's go to Disneyland. So we bought Disneyland tickets for 5 days and 10 days of hotels. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law, Doug and Amy, decided that they would come join us in Disneyland. So all of that was booked and planned way back in December. So that was kind of exciting for us. We planned on surprising everyone that we'd be back early. Well, here's your surprise. It wasn't quite that way. Next, we went to Malaysia, and Malaysia was great. We had a great time looking around. The coronavirus was just a little bit of talks at the beginning of, what month was that? It must have been
Would have been the beginning of January.
beginning of January, because we spent New Year's there.
We were New Year's in Malaysia.
Yeah,
as you all saw the photos.
Yeah. So the virus was just a little bit of talks. It was just in China still. People were just talking about it there at the beginning of January. And they were starting to lock down a little bit in China. So we didn't have any fear where we were. We were still a long ways away from China. No one expected anything like it is now. My cough had gotten a little bit worse by then, all the pollution and things like that. So I was coughing more often. And we decided that we would spend a little bit more time out of the city, and that's when we went to Genting Highlands and Cameron
Penang.
Highlands and Penang, and picking a few smaller places, less pollution. So that was helpful. Then after we got back from
Genting Highlands.
Genting Highlands.
That weekend was Chinese New Year weekend, and from that point, it went from seeing a few people wearing masks to everybody wearing masks. Masks sold out everywhere. Hand sanitizer sold out everywhere. Rolls of toilet paper. Plenty of it. Nobody cared.
No one cared about toilet paper there. I'm not sure what is wrong with us white people, but over there, plenty of toilet paper. Just the hand sanitizer and the mask disappeared. And no one there had the virus, but everybody was in fear of it. And it was still just in China. So we thought, we should leave because it made us uncomfortable. So we decided to go to Bali and then also to book another cruise, the one that we took before the one we just got off of. So we'd take one cruise, then stay on it and go to the other. We thought, that'd be perfect. We're out of the way of everything. It's not going to, come to any of our countries because, we're first world countries. Why would it come here? We have better sanitization. We're cleaner. We don't eat bats. We don't eat snakes. So we're not going to get it. So very naive now that you think of it. But, that's kind of what we thought. So we went off to Bali. Everything was good there. Beautiful country to visit. Loved it. Then went on to Australia. And we'd been actually planning our trip to be in Australia for 3 months, but the fires there never went out. The fires went forever. You saw that all over the news. And so that was out of the question. We also, when we were making plans way back in December on what to do, we also had almost booked a cruise that went to Italy. We have a picture of it and we can post that for you after. But it went through the Suez Canal. It was a very inexpensive cruise and we would have gone to Italy and then over to Europe and we would have seen some of our friends over there. And so our friends were very disappointed when we said, no, we're not going to do that one, and we changed our minds. Well, thank goodness we changed our minds because Italy would have been the very wrong place to be stuck in. So thank goodness that plan and the universe turned us the right way. So we got to Australia and there was still talk of the virus, but for us it didn't feel like it was even going to get to Australia. Yes, it had been in China and it moved to a few different places. On the cruise, you couldn't get on the ship if you had been in China, in a few northern Asian places, and Singapore. And it was so long since we'd been in Singapore, it didn't matter for us. So we thought, well, why wouldn't we cruise? There's no reason not to cruise, because some people are condemning people for going on a cruise. There's a lot of talks about it and saying how stupid people are for going on a cruise. You should have known. But nobody knew that it was going to get that bad. So the cruise went well. The first one, there wasn't any talk of any of the virus. We went to all our ports. Everything was great. The second cruise we got on, everything was great there with it. It was only probably after the third day they changed our itinerary. And then it started with all the changes and the changes and the changes, and then not getting off the ship. And when we were on the ship, when we first had the difficult time of like, oh, we're not going here, we're not going there, we just thought, well, they'll bring us into a port and we'll get off and we'll fly home. We had no idea that the ship was going to be denied places and no one would let us in. Like, how ironic is that? You know, all of a sudden we're the disease and we're not allowed in anywhere. So you all know kind of what has happened past there, and now we're home and safe, but we do have lots of people that were on the ship that had a more difficult time getting home. There's some people that went to Argentina and they didn't make it through their borders. So they're stuck outside Argentina while their families are all at home and they're trying to get in, but the border's closed. So they're stuck in a country that they don't belong in and they can't get home. The Australians that were on our cruise are having a really difficult time. They, same as us, got off the ship, got on a bus, went to the plane. Their plane took them directly to Sydney. Then they got off of the plane, took them directly to a hotel. The first couple days were horrendous in the hotel, and some things are still bad. They didn't really have any food for a few days in the hotel. They were all separated. I know a lovely lady from there. She has 5 children, and they were all separated, so they cannot be in the same rooms. The grandparents were traveling with them, and they have one of the children. The mom has 3, and the dad has the other. So it's very sad that they can't see each other. They can FaceTime and talk, but nothing else. One little boy is only 4. He went for a whole day and no food. So it's really, really sad for them over there. It makes me, breaks my heart thinking of them. It's really hard. So it's been emotional for us. And I'm going to try not to cry too much. But it is really hard. We were very fortunate. We made it home and we're safe. And we didn't have too many mishaps. So we did have no food, and someone on our plane did pass out and was not doing very well for the lack of food.
So then we had a medical emergency, so we got to Vancouver Airport, and the paramedics had to come on board, and she walked off, but they escorted her off the plane. So then the rest of it was pretty seamlessly. We just went from Vancouver to Calgary, and then Calgary to Lethbridge, and went straight home to quarantine ourselves for 14 days.
But it was hard being mixed in with other people too. We didn't expect that they would just dump us off in Vancouver. Here you go, mix in with everybody else. We're lucky our flight was so delayed that we got in at midnight and there wasn't anybody in the airport except people from our ship. But the next morning, get on the plane, there were other people that we had to mix with. We'd already served our 14 days quarantine on the ship, being at sea without hitting any land. So now we're mixed with other people, so it's a bit of a risk, of course, for all of us on top of that. So it's not quite as easy and less stressful as people think that it was just a simple thing. On the ship also, near the end, it was getting a little intense with a lot of people. A lot of people were getting frustrated. They wanted off the boat. They were blaming different people. There were meetings every night. We were like the biggest gossip ship ever. As soon as someone said anything, the news was spread all over the ship super fast. There was a room that you could go to and look out at the captain and the crew and them sailing the ship. Well, that room got closed because people were pounding on the window and getting mad at the captain. They banged on his door. Someone had their room investigated and their computer taken away. It was very crazy for that time. We did have some good friends that we talked with a lot. They actually live in Red Deer, and it was really nice because it wasn't any ship talk. We just got to talk, have fun, goof around, and do nothing. So that part was really good. The ship was amazing.
Yeah, they did really well at serving everybody and entertainment and stuff like that. I mean, it was great on the ship. There's no doubt about that. But the other part is just not knowing when you're denied port after port after port. Nobody wants you. Nobody wants to let you in. It's like, wow. So we're lucky that we were able to dock, because I know there are still quite a few cruise ships out there that probably aren't going to be docking at any time soon. So that's a tough one when you can't be home with your family and friends during this pandemic.
So despite all the bad pandemic stuff, the rest of our trip was really, really fun. We had a great time, and we probably wouldn't go back to there again.
Oh.
It's hard to say. There's some great things at each place, but to do a big trip like that definitely was a lot. A big eye-opener of how spoiled we are over here and how fortunate we are to have things that we have in comparison to them, and such a different lifestyle. We could definitely relax a lot over here compared to over there. They have way less, but there's less stress. They live in a very chaotic world, but they're not stressed. They're very calm.
They're very calm, yes.
So for now, we're gonna, load up a few more pictures, and then we will start posting on each of our own pages again. And hopefully, if you guys want to still communicate with us, that's where you'll find us. We'll talk on our Bingham Escape page, and I actually plan on writing a book about all of this sometime. I mean, I have 14 days, but I don't think 14 days is enough time to write a book. And if I keep sleeping half the day away because we're still not used to this time change, then it might be a little bit harder to write a book and that. Anything else you want to say?
No, I think that's it for now. We look forward to seeing you guys.
Yes.
At some point.
At some point in the future. Who
Yes,
knows when that will be.
sometime soon.
So hopefully, if you're in quarantine, hopefully it goes well for everybody else. And hopefully ours gets over soon too, and that nobody's sick. We know that nobody has been found sick on the ship. Several have been tested, and they're all fine. So looking forward to talking to you guys again soon, and seeing you on our pages.
Bye for now.
Bye.